All right, we are live on Facebook, Life Unrehearsed, Facebook feed. Ivan and Robert.
Ivan.
Oh, Ivan. Yes.
You got my name right. You got my name right. So
we're going to be on. Going to be on in about a minute. Hope you enjoy the show. Stress, anxiety.
Do we have any?
Like right now.
Do we have any other headphones?
It is on.
No, you don't need the headphones because we're not taking in callers. You might get a couple texts.
Okay.
All right.
It's done, Joanne. It's done.
When you see this go on, we're on.
Here you go.
Like now. Good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed, a show about the ins and outs of family life. So your life isn't going exactly as planned? Well, you're not alone, and we're here to help out. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in free retirement home search and senior transition support.
And I'm Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist, specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on the first half of today's show. So you're a little stressed out, maybe suffering from a little bit of anxiety. Perhaps it's short-term because of work pressures, or maybe it's the holiday season, or perhaps it's something a little more deep-rooted. Well, how about going from stressed to strength, or maybe from worrier to warrior? We have the dynamic duo of Robert Wise and Ivan Rubio from the Rise Anxiety and Depression Clinic in studio to show us how we can go from stress to strength. Corey, they have a huge following and they know their stuff.
There is no question about it. I see it all over Facebook, but I also have the pleasure of knowing them personally, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very interesting segment. And, before we talk about the second half, Corey, there are a lot of snowbirds that are either just left. I think your parents left a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, my folks are down already.
And a lot are about to leave. So we want to wish everyone safe travels if you're heading down on vacation or you are indeed a snowbird. I know our family is getting together tonight because my dad and his wife are going to be leaving this week for the drive down to Florida. I want to wish them and everyone safe travels. And we also want to say that even if you are in Florida or anywhere in the world,
fear not. You can still listen to Life Unrehearsed on Sundays at 4 o'clock through iHeartRadio or Facebook, our Facebook Live post. So I know my parents are listening. Hi.
And we're on cjd.com. Yes. So what do we have going on in the second half, Corey?
So I'm very excited about the second half because it is a really important topic, but we have a really dynamic person to share her experience with us. What do you get when you combine a mother who has 2 children with celiac disease and the desire to help others with an entrepreneurial spirit? You get Miriam Pearl. Miriam's in the studio, and she's going to tell us how she created a one-of-a-kind factory entitled Delicious Without Gluten.
And she brought food to Corey.
She
yes,
did.
And good food at that. Okay, let's get started right away. Many people, Corey, as you know, suffer from stress and anxiety. Some people might not even realize the effect it has on themselves, perhaps their families, their friends, co-workers. Some seek professional help, yet many still approach it with the I could handle it on my own attitude. Well, we know one thing for sure. It's getting more prevalent, and we need help with how to manage it. And that's why we're so glad to have Robert Wise and Ivan Rubio in studio with us. Robert and Ivan are the founders of Rise Anxiety and Depression Clinic. They're all over social media, and they're helping out a lot of people in how to effectively deal with stress and anxiety. Guys, so proud to have you guys on Life Unrehearsed. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, anxiety can mean so many different things. It's out there. Ivan, we're going to start with you. How would you define anxiety?
So the way I define anxiety, Matt, is, the traditional way of defining it is a perceived threat that we're anticipating. So that's the traditional way. And if we go a little bit further, I would say it's the idea that we don't have the resources and the capability to deal with that perceived threat, right? And so once we understand that, that meaning, and that's the essence of anxiety, it's that belief that we don't have the ability and the resources to deal with that threat, then we can actually really start tackling it, right? If not, it's just going to be a band-aid solution.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. So how do I distinguish between what's regular anxiety and what would I know is excessive anxiety?
So, often I get that question often, Corey, and the answer I give my clients, or that we give our clients, is if it's impacting your life to the point that you are not able to get outside, you are having excessive anxiety, going to work, going to school, job performance, And I always scale it on a scale of 1 to 10 subjectively. If it's 7 or 8, very often, more often than not, like 4 or 5 days out of 7, and it's happening very often, and the duration is long, more than a few minutes, then it's falling under excessive anxiety. It's no longer just stress anymore.
Now, Ivan, you've talked right there several different types of anxiety. So we're going to dig down a little deeper here with even Rubio. I keep saying Ivan. We'll go back and forth. All right, if that's
right.
okay with you.
It's all
And
good.
Robert Wise, who are helping us out and navigate stress and anxiety. Robert, we're going to switch it over to you.
Sure.
Different types of anxiety. Let's start with the workplace. And there were some actually very interesting stats that just came out this week. 1 in 4 Canadians cite stress as the reason for leaving their job, while 73% of all working adults aged 20 to 64 report at least some level of stress. So, anxiety in the workplace, how do we deal with that?
Great question, Matt. So, I work with a lot of business owners and a lot of companies, and the anxiety level and the stress level that the workers are going through is high. So, how do you deal with a stressful job, a stressful situation? First, you got to make sure that you are taking on realistic deadlines. You want to be very mindful. You want to be very aware of deadlines. You want to be aware of your goals. So what happens is a lot of people take on way too many projects. They put way too much stress on themselves. And they also don't take time to say, okay, wait a minute. What can I realistically do in the time I have to do it? So you got to set real goals. And I know there's lots of pressure and there's lots of demand, but you got to make sure that you're taking the right time, taking the right steps, and making sure that you are following through with your commitments by close looping your goals even. So one of my biggest solutions for you is to close loop your goals. Make sure that when you do set a goal, you're able to make sure that the goal is being attained. How do you do that? By checking, where am I at with the goal right now? Rather than wait to the last minute and be like, oh my goodness, I am so behind, I'm not meeting the deadlines. That's going to create stress. That's going to create tension. And what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to run. That's why people are leaving their jobs. They're scared. They're fearful. They're fearful that they didn't commit, and that's what's going to cause them to be like, I got to run.
So practical and so clear. Not always so easy to do, but that's why we have support from people like you. It's very important. That is Robert Wise, and we're also talking to Ivan Rubio from Rise Anxiety and Depression Clinic. And aside from the workplace anxiety, we know that I certainly see it in my practice, kids are more stressed than ever. So Ivan, what tips could you give parents to help their children?
One of the things that I see a lot is parents are coming in and they're enabling their kids. I have a lot of kids that I'm seeing anywhere from like 8 to 12 to 13, and parents are coming in, my child is too needy, my child doesn't give me space, my child doesn't leave my leg. So we're talking about separation anxiety here. And we're finding out that the parents are just doing everything. They're cutting their meat, they're serving them their plates. They're not doing anything to enable their child to develop any type of autonomy, and they're not building this idea that they're capable. Again, right? It all comes down to the idea that you are capable and you have the resources to deal, right? So I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah. So
what I wanted to ask you is, given that, what tips would you give parents to help?
So the tip would be, build autonomy in your child. Give them the ability to do things themselves. Give them homework. Give them tasks, and push them to do it by themselves. That would be my tip.
It's quite interesting. I remember going to a high school. My son was in grade 7, just coming from grade 6. And we're in the auditorium with all the parents and all these stressed out parents and stressed out kids. And the very first line coming out of the principal was, parents, your boys will be men by the time they leave high school. And as of this moment, it's time to cut the cord.
Exactly.
And that was shocking in a way. But he was right. Time to cut the cord. So, so I think what you're saying even is, we're as parents almost as guilty for, I guess, giving the stress to the kids, because we're these helicopter parents that we're known as.
Yeah, to some extent. Obviously, not everybody's a helicopter parent, but yes, I'm seeing that more and more. Yeah, we want to protect our children, and in the end, we're actually doing them a disservice by trying to overprotect them.
All right, parents, there we go. We got to cut the cord. We're approaching 4:15. We're going to get a bit of a traffic update, but when we come back, Robert, you talk about something called self-sabotage. I think we all do it. In our minds, we make things a lot worse than what they are, and we have to stop that enemy from within. And you're going to hear about a really good story about your own self-sabotage with your father and an album cover of the Beatles. So you don't want to miss that story. But first, we're going to head out to the CJD Traffic Center with Lauren Glazer.
Still pretty
And it's that easy.
There you go.
There you go.
First half is done. We covered a lot. Yeah.
We have to have more
Alright, guys.
questions.
We are gonna be back
But
in
we didn't
about
have the
5
couple, we're
minutes.
gonna have to-
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
You're getting a little bit of
we have a holiday
behind the scenes.
we have 5.
Yeah, so we got your story,
2 minutes.
We
Your
got the
story,
holiday
we got
season.
holiday season. We got different
couples,
Okay, good.
and
Yeah.
then the different types of anxiety if we have time to get
We
into that.
okay. Do you do different types of anxiety here?
No,
No.
we
Okay.
didn't.
We
So
what is
covered-
anxiety?
we
Got
covered a
it.
lot though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, we covered a lot.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
which is good. Good.
Good.
and look at that.
How many people? They're all watching it.
We're,
Are you off? Or
yeah,
on?
we're off.
We're all- okay.
So good. You guys are. That's it. Doing okay?
I'm
Okay.
doing good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I think I'm getting anxiety about me tell the
Yeah.
story in 1 minute.
Well, we did that. That's what
That's
we
my
did
anxiety.
that.
I have
We
to
had-
tell the story in a
yeah,
minute.
We had someone come in to talk about anxiety, back to school anxiety,
Yeah.
and there was the Pride Parade. We all were almost late. We almost didn't make it in. So she didn't make it in until the second half of the show. She was supposed to be our first. The poor woman was so full of wrought with anxiety.
And she was talking
She was
about
our
her
anxiety
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
She was so
And
stressed
her-
because she
And
missed
then our
the-
first
missed being
guest, who
here.
was supposed to be our second, was doing mindfulness. She said, okay, let's just bring it down.
Let's just
yeah,
be in
let's
the moment.
Yeah.
Be mindful. Be present.
You never know.
Continue the tradition this holiday.
Right, we'll be back on the air in about 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes.
Oh,
Good.
okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
we have fun.
Nice
So,
little break.
so your story, which is a very interesting story, yeah, you can do it.
I can do it. I don't know how, but I can do
I
it.
feel like you can do
Wow,
it.
Come on,
Robert, you can.
I can do it in one.
You know what? If I can give a suggestion,
Yes.
the butcher.
Yeah.
Not many people know the butcher part, and I think it threw me off. Like
Butcher
I was.
I'll just say
focused
it's a famous cover.
on- exactly
Yes,
album
yes.
cover. Yeah,
I won't go into detail about what
Yeah.
the cover was.
because the butcher kind
But
of.
there's a very famous Beatles cover.
Right.
And
We're getting recommendations. Thanks, guys.
oh, who's great?
Eric, Bernie,
Oh, recommended. Thank you, Eric.
I'll tell him after.
Are we not live anymore?
No,
Okay.
no.
We're live there.
We're live on
We're
Life
live there.
on
So
Rehearse.
thank you
Yeah.
guys for your support.
Yeah, thank you for being here
Thanks, guys.
and great advice. We all need it.
Co.ca.
Let's prepare for the next one.
So Corey's going to be coming back. There's a little musical interlude which you won't be able to hear.
Well, he
hear
will.
here.
I could if I-
Yeah.
If you put on, yeah,
I can't hear.
it's going to be what song do we?
Beatles.
Oh yeah, the Beatles
Yesterday.
yesterday
Oh,
from the
yes.
album.
Is it from the Butcher cover? Did you guys check out the Butcher
Yeah,
cover, by
I
the
looked
way?
at it.
Do
I
you know what I'm
did.
talking about?
It
You
was
did?
disgusting, actually. I was shocked.
Well,
Like babies and blood. And
Yeah,
all
they
that
cut
stuff.
up, and then they redid it with boxes. That's and then apparently, like, if you were to like
At least it can be.
scrape it's behind there because they pasted on top of it the new cover.
I want to
Just
put
for
for
the
20,000
popular
I
box.
think you should have Baby It's Cold Outside playing.
I was watching that video, by the
That's,
way, and I
Frank?
actually found that I actually did find it a little bit.
I can't. I haven't even seen the video.
I found it
can't
a little.
believe-
I could see.
I understand.
He seemed like he was pressuring her a little bit too much.
It's like 70 years ago.
70
It's
years
like,
ago.
come on.
But you
I
hear
get
the-
it.
Whose baby is called
But-
outside?
The music video.
Music,
I don't know.
It's
well,
been
it's-
banned and-
it's a band.
But if you're going to examine that one, you got to examine all of them.
And
Well,
music
that's
now
the
is
That's the problem.
terrible music
That's it,
now.
yeah.
Like,
Marco Vendramini commercial.
Last 27
He's
years,
our sponsor.
people choose us not only
oh, he's a good
but for
sport.
the expertise
Loyal.
we
He's
bring
loyal.
when life events occur. Retirement, sale of business.
I always forget. I get so caught up in the music, I forget I'm supposed to come back.
You're supposed to come back, Corey. My new best
I'm
friend,
bopping,
Corey, right now.
I'm listening. I'm like, oh yeah.
We're on
Yeah.
Follow Corey on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Follow Ivan on Instagram. Follow Matt on Instagram. And follow.
No, I'm too old for Instagram.
You don't have Instagram?
No, Facebook, LinkedIn, that's it.
We're back, guys.
All right. We're back. We're going to be on soon.
Okay.
But another minute.
1 minute, guys. Rotate your device.
That's right. Don't drive.
Oh, great. Facebook is being...
Here we go.
Love it.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corey Serrato with my co-host Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking with Robert Wise and Yvonne Rubio on how to effectively deal with stress and anxiety. I understand there's a very interesting story, Robert, about self-sabotage, so
Yes.
I want to hear it.
Okay, I'm embarrassed by this story, but I did speak about it before on my big event last week. So
What are we to do? Exposure, right?
what are we supposed to do? So actually, I'll tell you really quickly about how I self-sabotage, and I think my father's listening, so a big apology is out to him. But it's interesting how we can get into our head. Speaking of the Beatles and the record, my dad wanted to give me a little gift, and he told me that he had a very rare album cover by the Beatles. So what do? Of course, I want to pawn it. So that's what you're gonna do, right? That's what you do. So I went to go pawn this special gift, and to my displeasure, apparently I found out that the gift was unfortunately a bootleg of the original cover and not the actual original cover. So let's just say that $20,000 turned into $30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Scandalous.
Scandalous. So what happens to a person who feels triggered or feels like they've been wronged? They get into their head and they start to self-sabotage. So on my way home to confront my father about the bootleg cover, I started to get into my head. I've been shamed. I've been fooled. I can't believe this. I'm going to, show this person that they can't treat me this way. So rather than get out of my head and take a moment to be like, maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's an accident, I started to build up a story. And that story that I took for face value was this person was trying to con me. This person was pulling a fast one on me. Actually may not be true. It could be true, but may not be true.
Right.
So by getting into your head, you could be sabotaging your relationship with the person that you are building the story about, and you could be sabotaging your own health and mental well-being, because I guarantee you at that point, my heart's racing, my left arm is beating, and I'm starting to feel very anxious and angry, when all I had to do was take a moment to say, wait a minute, I don't know really if this was meant to be be deceitful or not, but I have to get out of my head regardless and deal with the facts.
So true. There's Robert Wise, Ivan Rubio, telling us to, relax a little bit. Don't beat yourself up. Learning a little bit coping mechanisms for stress and anxiety. So glad to have you guys here on Life Unrehearsed. Now, prior to the traffic, we talked about issues with kids and stress and anxiety with kids. We talked about the workplace. Let's switch gears. Right, 'tis the season, holiday season, and stress and anxiety levels do go up during holiday season. So, Robert, any recommendations for us during the holiday season?
Absolutely. My recommendation, first of all, is to be realistic. I mean, yes, this is the holiday seasons, but know your budget, know what you can do, know your limitations. So what happens during the holiday is we tend to maybe overpromise or feel like we have to spend X amount of dollars to make people happy. But know your limitations. I think what we do is we set ourselves up, and that makes us feel bad because we don't know our limits and we say things maybe that we should not say. So again, it goes back to taking a pause, take a moment, be mindful, and be aware of what you say and what you commit to. It's okay to say no. For those people who feel like I gotta bake a cake, I gotta bake a turkey, I gotta make it this, I gotta decorate the tree, it's okay to say no. It's okay. And my number one tool is during this time of year where it's very much go, 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 take a minute, take 2 minutes to just find some peace. Even if that means sitting in your car, listening to some music, or lying in your bed. I like to listen to rain. I know I'm a little bit weird. I like to listen to rain and thunder. I do. Even if it takes 2 minutes to just feed your pockets, feed yourself so you don't feel so overwhelmed. You need to come back to yourself, and the way to do that is to be mindful. Stay in the moment, and then make your choices.
I have to tell you, unbelievably relevant advice. Very often, unfortunately, very hard and challenging to accept that. I think people struggle with, well, what are people going to think of me? And I think what you're trying to essentially communicate is that we have to be okay with ourselves.
Yes, we have to be true to ourselves. So what happens is during the holiday season, I think that people are not true to themselves. They're not true to their budget. They're not true to their time. They're not true to their commitments. And that creates people to feel bad. So be true to yourself and be aware of your thoughts and what are you saying? Are you saying because you bought someone a gift that's $10, not $30, that you're cheap, that you're stupid, that you're bad? Or are you still being mindful? So be careful of the story that you're saying to yourself, because I guarantee you that story is going to affect your reactions, and those reactions could affect your mood and make you feel quite bad.
Getting back to your self-sabotage again.
Yes,
Right?
it all goes back to
So-
self-sabotage.
But hold on. So what happened in the end? We never heard that.
Oh my goodness, Corey. Okay, so in the end, but I'm happy to let you know my father and me are on very good terms, but I was upset, but after getting out of my head, it turned out that he did not mean to give me a bootleg cover. That apparently he has been
There you
fooled.
go.
He was duped as well.
He was
Just
duped
to
as well.
show you
Yeah.
that what we call a cognitive distortion, what you believe is not always what is.
Absolutely.
Robert Wise, Ivan Rubio, helping us out with some stress and anxiety. Real quick here, and Robert, this is also addressed to you, couples, relationships, and that's stressful anxiety, had the good times and maybe even bad times. Any quick recommendations?
Absolutely. When it comes to relationships, let's talk about the number one thing that people need in relationships is communication. They need to be able to communicate with each other. So my biggest advice right now is to take time to communicate with your partner. Again, if your partner doesn't speak to you, rather than avoid your partner, ask them, what's going on? You're not speaking to me. Is everything okay? It's okay to communicate, and it's very important to communicate. That's my advice. Speak to your partner. Understand what's going on. Do not avoid them, please.
Corey, how many times have we heard that, right, on the
Yes.
show? Communication
Yeah.
is key. Robert Wise, even Rubio, owners of Rise Anxiety and Depression Clinic, you guys were very, very helpful. Thanks for coming in the studio on a Sunday to help so many people. How can people get a hold of you?
So they can visit our website at www.riseclinic.ca. Look us up on Facebook, Rise Clinic, Rising Anxiety and Depression Clinic, on Instagram, Rise Clinic, at Rise Clinic. So that's how you guys can look us up. Our number is 1-855-725-6725 or 514-232-6445.
Repeat that number, 514 number one more time.
514. Go ahead, Robert.
514-232-6445. And check out our website again, riseclinic.ca.
These guys are great. They do workshops, they do individual counseling, and they do lots of things all over the city to help people. So thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
coming in. Coming up after the news, we're going to be talking to Miriam Pearl, a compassionate mother whose children have celiac disease. And what did she do about it? She created a very successful company called Delicious Without Gluten. Stick around to hear her story.
That's,
Good job, everyone.
Okay.
All right. Congrats.
Yay!
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. I'm just tangled.
Excellent,
Great,
guys.
great,
Really
great
good stuff,
job.
too.
Right,
So
amazing how much
fast.
information.
Oh my goodness.
The
Amazing how
feed-
much information you
Thanks for the
got.
feedback,
Like
guys.
1,000 pieces
So
of
we're
information
gonna
in one
have
bite.
Facebook
Yeah,
Live.
exactly.
One bite.
Three of it as
Great.
well to share, please.
Thank
All
you
right.
for the
We'll
feedback, guys. We appreciate it.
I'm
We
so
appreciate
sorry.
the love.
I'm saying.
And
I'm staying.
stay tuned.
Thank you,
Yeah, I
everyone. Little goodbye to Like Fun Rehearsed. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa, my daughter. Okay, Corey, we're off. We'll be back on in another 5 minutes.
Stay tuned.